𝗤𝗂𝗶𝗇 saw the beginning of a new era for climate diplomacy. It's been the first global event that saw the presence of almost 400 young people from all over the world here, nearby my office in Milan, and the outcome, the final proposal that came out of that event was the Youth for Climate Manifesto. It's been 44 pages document which resumed basically all the needs that young people saw in the field of sustainability and climate change. And after that, we've also been able to bring these proposals to the actual COP26, the most important event that saw also the presence of ministers and high officials from other international entities. There, we try to express our concerns, but also we try to express our ideas and concrete projects in order to end climate change and also in order to have a more sustainable world for everyone. But also at the COP26, we saw a lot of discussions, we saw a lot of insecurities from different parties, but in the end, this kind of agreement was, quoting the Secretary General of the United Nations, a compromise, because it's been a compromise by political parties, but also by NGOs, by civil society members and similar. So we saw that it's been very important. We saw that it's been a very important agreement, but in my opinion, there has been something more to be done there. And here, I would like to ask a question to my fellow host here about the role of technology and also the role of new ideas, new projects into the field of climate change. So my question is, what is the role of new technologies in reaching the net zero?
Thank you very much, Daniele. Well, I believe that, of course, we cannot get to net zero without development of technologies which are very much aimed at producing efficiently clean energy. And of course, we are here in a transition. We are in the middle of transitioning from fossil fuels to new kind of fuels with much less carbon content. And of course, in this area, I believe that production of new energy vectors such as hydrogen will have a huge role in the future of our society. However, I have to say that, I'm originally from Naples, and you might remember that some time ago there was a strike of the people who were collecting rubbish, right? And of course, even when the strike was over, there was still rubbish in the streets for some time, because even if the people collecting rubbish were continuing like before, they had to eliminate what was left there, because there was a time when nobody did anything. So for climate change, it's a little bit like that. We have polluted and we have emitted a lot of CO2, and it's not only CO2, let's call them just greenhouse emissions. We have polluted the environment for so long. So I think that hand in hand, we need also to look at technologies which are able to remove the CO2 and the other greenhouse gases that we have produced from the atmosphere. So there is a role there. However, I have to say, and I was extremely pleased to see so many young people, like you said. I have to say that this is a system approach. It's definitely a there is a technology need for the future. However, I think that you never do anything without a system approach, looking at everything, looking also at the society and how the society is engaged in getting to net zero. So why I'm saying that is that very often it's our behavior that has to change. And it's the time where scientists and technologists and engineers as me were work in isolation is over. So we need really to engage with the public, with the stakeholders, with the next generation that really will need to work together just to get to the point that we have to change our behavior. I think it's only by changing the behavior we can really, and with the help of technology, of course, get there. And they are good. I think they are good things that are happening already at the moment. But as I was a little bit disappointed, I think, from what came out, or better, what didn't come out from Glasgow. But I think that the base is there, and especially with the new generations very much involved and believing that generation that believe in science, I think that, and technology, I think that we are on the good way to reach net zero, like we will need to do, probably not in the time frame that the politicians believe, but yeah. So
yeah, when you say that we have to change our behavior, I totally believe it, because we also try to propose the implementation of mandatory chemical classes during high school level, or also at the university level, where everyone is able to fully understand how this world works, because it is only allowing people to be accountable for their own action that in the end they are going to change their own perspective, and also to change their own way of living. Because I think that in the end, this is like the very important thing. So allowing everyone to try to understand how the world is going to work for the next future. So yeah, I totally believe also when you say that we need the next generation of technologies, but also now, like here, for just coming back to the technology part, I've also another question. Because there, both at the COP26, but in a lesser way also at the Youth for Climate, we saw that there was the need of cooperation. While we, the young people, have been able to fully cooperate for the 3 days of event, the Youth for Climate one, in order to try to have a common vision, and also in order to express our unique also vision, to the world. I saw that this kind of intention kind of failed during COP26. So my other question for you is this one. Do you believe that there is the need for more cooperation, both under the development of technologies, but also under the political or scientific level?
Absolutely. I think that, yes, we will need collaborations, but among scientists and technologists, because I think that there are many efforts in terms of technology that are being developed in different countries, and perhaps sometimes even within the same countries, where we are duplicating efforts. I think that we don't have much time to do everything in isolation. Hence, I believe that, I speak just for the UK now, where unfortunately, I think that we have spent a lot of money also in the area of carbon capture and storage. But at the moment, we don't have a full scale plant that is really capturing CO2 and storing CO2. And I think that we have lost a lot of time and money, taxpayers' money, because very often we don't have a good coordination and collaboration of spending the money in a much better way, and collaborate among scientists and researchers. but then from here I can scale up now to outside the UK, and let's go to Europe, or let's go to the world. Yes, I mean they are. I mean, many scientists are mainly work on similar issues at the moment, and you wonder, why should we do that? Why don't we create more collaborations and work together? But of course, I mean, you know, they are political and other issues that hinder actually collaboration at a very high level. The other problem that I see is that very often what is missed here is that you have the proof of concept, but then you have to scale it up and you have to commercialize it. And very often that is where the link is broken. So that is where you really need a strong commitment from governments and companies to invest in these new technologies and make them up to scale. The problem, I think, that, you know, it's well, we have seen COVID, okay? The vaccine has been developed almost in no time. Why? Because the technology was there, and then they knew what to do. In a way, it's more or less the same in carbon in technologies for net zero. I mean, the technology probably as concept, as proof of concept, feasibility study, lab study is there, but then the vaccine had to be scaled up, and AstraZeneca, just to name one, decide to produce it in a large amount. So if you don't have somebody who takes the technology, scale it up, and makes it work on the large scale, I mean, there is no opportunity, no possibility here of doing something really grand as we have to do. And this is why I think that collaboration should be not only between researchers or between universities, but also with companies, and the government should be supporting these collaborations and make it happening, because of course, I mean, without the right policies and the right support, you will never get anywhere. So I think that, you know, we have learned a lot from COVID. And as a student of mine said, there is no vaccine for climate change, and but there are solutions, and I think that, you know, we can have something similar to vaccine for climate change, and that's something that, yeah, we should all push together, I suppose. Well, you touched upon another important point, Daniele, which is this sort of, if I understood it correctly, education. I think that the other thing which is absolutely missed here is what I would call energy literacy. You don't need to be an expert, but you need to be literate in something. And, you know, there is a lot of efforts at the moment, even in Italy, about financial literacy. Why money, yes, and energy or climate, no? I mean, you know, so I think that we should have this in the curriculum from first class of year one for our children. So we should all be literate and know what, not experts, but know what we are talking about. All in this way, we can really be in a part of the solution. Because again, if we do not co-create the solution, we are not going to get to any results, I believe. But
the impression that I got from your last sentence is that, I mean, you are absolutely right, but you know, the reason I think is, you know, this is what I got from my with experience with education and also this kind of path, is that since the climate change is not seen as a personal threat to everyone, so there is no direct link between the threat of climate change and your, for example, personal health or similar, but in reality there is, but it's still not like, you know, it's not clear to everyone, because there is this difference of perception and similar. This is why the actions that are following this kind of fight are being delayed. Because also during the last conference, the COP26, Mario Draghi said that there was enough money in order to act concretely toward the end of climate change. But now it was time but he also said that it was time to deliver, and that we don't have enough time to try to think to other ideas on doing complicated stuff. Well, it's like we have to act with what we have. And I think that if we all together try to act toward the same goal, but for all together, I mean Europe, I mean Asia, I mean the whole world, I think that perhaps we are on the right track to achieve the end of this kind of nightmare. But for now, I think that there are still a lot of differences because, for example, not in every country climate change is seen as a number one threat, because there are other countries that have, for example, as major needs, the one of trying to feed their own population. There are internal riots and similar. So until now, until 2022, climate change is seen, of course, as a problem, but not for everyone as a number one issue. This is why we have still tried to raise awareness and try to continue the fight to a more sustainable world. And this is what I got from both the point of view that I got from the young delegates, but also during the last COP, because moreover, I've been very, very lucky to attend also the previous two COPs. So I was also COP24 in Katowice and COP25 in Madrid. And there was still this kind of leitmotif here. So it was, okay, we acknowledge that the threat, we acknowledge that there is more and similar, but we don't know how to act clearly and how to act all together, because personal interests in the end will prevail among the interests of everyone. And I mean, I'm a bit sad, and I say this one with a bit of bitterness, because I mean, in my vision, there is the need of a more concrete action and also a unique action. So when you say that, sorry, so when you say, Raffaella, when we have to escalate everything on a global level, I believe that it is absolutely true, but we will not be able to do that as soon as we don't have change on also the personal behavior of everyone. And here we come back to the educational part and similar. So
there are some social and ethical, I would say, issues here that one needs to consider, because unfortunately, you're right, the climate change is not perceived as an urgency, something which is very urgent. And I think that it's the time scale which probably makes this not perceived so urgent. It's a pandemic. It's like a pandemic, affects everybody. But with pandemics on a short time, we have seen deaths. With climate change, the change is more subtle in a way. So it accumulates, and people more or less have more time to adjust a little bit. Oh yes, it's raining more. Oh yes, it's cooler, it's warmer, it's this. But then we will readjust a bit. So it's I think it's less drastic. Like, you know, this person is dying because has COVID. Now, I'm not saying that we have to have something drastic, that people have to die because of climate change, but people are dying because of climate change, but probably we don't link them directly to climate change. And this is another link which is missed. And that's why I think that education, literacy is important. But I think that we need a cooperation at the international level, where we need to work together. I don't like the word help, because we might look almost like we want to colonize other countries, but we have to work together and help. I said the word help now, and make aware countries that are not developed like our countries, or what is the risk, and we should support them. We should, because let's not forget it. I mean, what is there in the atmosphere it's us, it's the developed country that have done that. So it will be completely unethical now to say, you know, you stop to do what we have done for so many years because you cannot pollute anymore. So we have to find a way to make the developing countries to be able to develop at the pace that we developed in the past, but we have to make sure that we are part of the solutions, and we actually work harder to the solution because we have created in the first place the problem. So collaboration per se is a little bit too vague, I suppose, but I think that, you know, this is why governments should be much more trying to really to do something together, and that's why the collaboration at the highest possible level, it's essential, because otherwise it will never happen. And there are countries where, you know, they will never get rid of fossil fuels. China will never get rid of coal, because that is what they have. So I think that we have to work with China to make sure that you can use coal, for instance, in a much more clean way. We have to make sure that the manufacturing, we don't give manufacturing to, I mean, we don't manufacture only in the countries where probably there is not a good way to control and regulate emissions. I think that, you know, there are some ethical issues here and some collaborations on the at the very large scale that would need to be done. So this is why I'm very, I have faith in the new generations, because the new generations who are understanding very well what is the issue here will be the future leaders, and probably we are in good hands, but we have to do our part now to make sure that this is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like another point that we touched during the introduction was this the creation of an intergenerational dialogue between people from different ages, because we truly believe that there is not a single path that we can pursue if we go along with our own ideas, because according to different people, the world is seen under different aspects. And here, like, this is like the point that we expressed before, that there is the need of collaboration and cooperation between, or better, among not only the different spheres of the world, so economics, science, politicians, and similar, but also from different ages and also different expertise. And also, when you say that for China is going to be almost impossible, if not very difficult, to definitely phase out, this is very, very true. But for example, I can provide you a few hints about what the Arab countries are doing, because they were in a very similar situation like China, like until let me guess, around 10 years ago or something like that. But now they discovered that they can use the power of the sun, so the solar rays, in order to power up their own energies. And now they are shifting to this kind of green way of produce energy. But this kind of shift happened not because it was like, I don't know, magical idea or something like that, but because this idea provides enough money and it is economically sustainable to do this kind of things in the future. And there is also a green part, which is a huge benefit. But in the end, the major goal behind all these kind of actions, ideas, and solutions is about being sustainable under the economical aspect and also under the well-being aspect. So yeah, this was the first virtuous example that I got from foreign countries, but I saw that also Europe is doing very well. For example, I've also been able to read the European Green Deal. I think that it is a very well done and very well structured document, but of course it is a bit ambitious, and basically the goal of the European Green Deal is to become a carbon neutral before 2050, and I think that we are on the right track, but there is still few adjustments to do. And also, I read that Scotland is about to become net zero by 2045. And because I've been able to talk with the representative from Scotland, and I was really amazed by the plan that they are about to implement. It was like, okay, if they can do that by 2045, I think that we are on the right track to do everything. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think that, our society is an energy intensive society. And if we want to continue to live like we do, we need energy. There is no doubt about that. We you know how much energy we are spending at the moment just having this conversation. It's energy. So the problem, I think, that each country wants to be energetically safe, and everybody wants to make sure that it's independent in terms of energy, because that's the energy independence is a huge advantage. And actually, I think that this is something that we should make people more aware of, because actually with renewables probably we can energy independent than with fossil fuels, because fossil fuel is concentrated in some countries, while renewables in a form or in another can be probably found in all countries. So probably if we aim for an energy mix, not to rely only on one energy vector, I think that countries can be more independent. And I think that that's why I imply that China will get rid of coal at one point, but it will take a long time, because China can be independent from an energy point of view with coal. But of course, they have excellent technologies, excellent scientists. If they want, they can do it with renewables. I'm sure that they can do it. So I think that, it's this engagement also in understanding what is the opportunity here. There are huge opportunities in going towards renewables, even for new jobs, new kind of training, new expertise that is needed. It can be a beautiful word also in terms of new kind of expertise and skills that will be trained. And it's up to us to make sure that everybody understands the message, well, not understands, but co-create this new future, making sure that, we are not going to switch off the lights. We just want to have the lights being less polluting than what they are at the moment. So that's the message that I think should be really pushed forward. And sometimes I think that politicians and are not the best to push some of these ideas forward.
Yeah, but basically because here there is the importance of transition, or the so-called just
just transition. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, just a second. Yeah, this is why, because I truly believe in the importance of the so-called just transition, both under the energy sector, but also for the whole other sectors. But at the moment, the major issue that I see here for better before going full renewable on the green energy is that we lack the technology to explore this kind of energies. Because, for example, if we go back talking about solar energy, at the moment we don't have enough power batteries, capacitors, and similarly in order to store that kind of energy, and also in order to provide enough energy to sustain cities vehicles or other items. So yeah, I mean, here I think that we are going back to my first question. So the importance of technologies in this kind of field, and also I do believe that there is the need of new and more funds in research and development of new technologies. But I mean, here, I mean,
yeah,
go please.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, you touched upon, and we probably can close the cycle now. You touched upon technologies for, like for instance, solar, but batteries are a big issue. But you know, and that's why I was saying this is a system approach, not only because it has to involve society and the social issues, but it's a system approach also from an engineering point of view, because there are novel way of storing energy. You don't need necessarily batteries. You mentioned Scotland, okay? Scotland produce offshore wind energy. And of course, as we all know, the wind is not something predictable. The sun is more predictable than the wind, right? So you cannot really use directly the energy, the electricity produced on the grid, because no, it's going to be in period where probably it's not requested. So what's now a beautiful solution? Instead of having a battery, why don't you use that energy to produce hydrogen? So at that point, you have hydrogen working as storage. It's an energy storage. It's a clean energy storage. So you use now the wind, which is renewables, to produce a clean, renewable, what they call green hydrogen. And then when you need energy, you burn the hydrogen, which doesn't produce any CO2. So at this point, I mean, technology is also what is emerging. It's not all technologies. We know how to produce hydrogen in the old fashion, which is very energy intensive actually, but and it's gray hydrogen. You produce CO2, but you can do green hydrogen, and you can solve the problem of not having the right battery for storing what the wind farm has produced. So this is why you need cooperation. This is why you need a new way of thinking. You need a system thinking, but also a little bit of inventive thinking to put together everything that one knows to come out with a solution which can be just and good for everybody. So this is what, you know, going back to what I said before, I think, you know, some of the technologies are there, but they are a little bit separated, and sometimes there is the opportunity here also to put together something which has worked, which we know works, to make it more efficient and more clean.
Yeah, because as what I understood, it's like a vicious circle. Like there is, I mean, where there is the technology, there are basically no money, or it is not possible to use this kind of technology on the civil society level. So the kind of technology is doomed to stay in this kind of niche, and no one is going to exploit that. Perhaps there is I don't know, another way to do that, which is a more affordable for the general consumers, but it is not really efficient. So you can have I don't know, you mentioned the gray hydrogens, which is like polluting, but perhaps in the eyes of the non-literate people can be seen as something green or way better than the CO2 emission that we got from the combustion of fossil fuels. So it's seen as a step forward, but it isn't. So see, there is this kind of mismatch between education, ecological, economical level, technologies, and similar.
Yeah, and we go back to energy literacy,
Yeah.
where we started from. I mean, you know, and that's why I think that, you know, nothing can be done in isolation. and the time where engineers, scientists, and were working on one side, and social scientists on another side, and ethicists on another side, is over. So I think that, you know, we have to look at everything as a global problem, and everybody has to contribute and co-create the solution, because the solution is not a unique solution that a technician can do if there is not a contribution from the social science, from the public, from all the stakeholders, which at the end it's everyone. So I think that, yes, we go back to what we have said and at the beginning, and it's a very nice circular economy that we have spoken about. But yeah, it's what I believe should be. Yeah.